All right, this lesson is on alkyl halides. So these are compounds that contain carbon and hydrogen, just like we learned about in hydrocarbons, but also halogen. So your bromine, your chlorine, your fluorine, your iodine. And as a rule, we treat those as side groups by themselves. So if you have bromine, in your hydrocarbon, we would treat it as a side group, and when naming, we would use bromo, right? So we'd specify the location and we'd say 2-bromo, whatever that compound is, right? And same thing for all of the other halogens as well. So if I have chlorine, then it would be chloro, and iodine would be iodo, and fluorine would be fluoro. So with those rules in mind, let's try and name these few examples. So I've got this particular compound. I still do the exact same thing that I do previously, which is to count the number of carbons in the longest continuous carbon chain. So I see 3 carbons all in one chain. So I see that this is prop, and I know that there's no double bonds or triple bonds, so it's propane. And this chlorine is attached to the first carbon, right? So there's, again, 2 ways of numbering this. I could number it as 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. If I do it the way from left to right, my chlorine would be on carbon number 3. And I don't want that because I want it to be on the lowest number carbon on the parent chain itself. So this would be 1-chloropropane. So that's how you'd name that particular molecule. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This is obviously in a line diagram, and when you're drawing line diagrams, you can only show your carbon and hydrogen in these lines, right? When you have compounds like atoms like Br and chlorine and iodine, you need to write those separately. So I'm going to start off by trying to number my parent chain. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want the bromine to have the lowest possible number. So I'm going to get rid of this left to right numbering and just go from right to left. My longest parent chain is butane. And this bromine is on the second carbon of that butane. So it would be 2-bromobutane. Okay, in this case, we've got 2 chlorines attached to this particular carbon. Again, same rules apply. So 1, 2, 3 is my longest chain. If I go 1, 2, 3, it actually doesn't change the numbering of the chlorines, right? The chlorines are always going to be on carbon number 2, regardless of if I number it from left to right or from right to left. So in this case, again, I have to name my longest continuous carbon chain. This is propane. And then on the second carbon, I've got 2 chlorines. So how does that change things? So I would have to write 2,2-dichloro propane, right? And this would be different. So the reason why there's 2,2 is because both chlorines happen to be on carbon number 2. If there was a chlorine on carbon number 1, then it would be 1,2-dichloropropane. Okay, so just to sort of make that a little bit more clear, let me just rewrite that. So dichloropropane. Okay, and this one, let's see what we can do in terms of naming this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I go from left to right, my side groups, which is this bromine and this particular carbon here. So you might not have seen this or a line diagram showing a side group. In this case, I know that this is a carbon because this is the end of a line, right? And in line diagrams, unless there's something else written, like there is in this bromine's case, I know that this is just going to be a carbon, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5-carbon chain. I'm going to try numbering from the other side to see what numbers my side groups would get. So if I go from right to left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my 2 options are either 2 and 3 or 4 and 3. And I like that 2 and 3 is lower than 3 and 4, right? So I want lowest numbers possible. So I'm just going to cross out this this numbering here, so I know that this is the numbering that I'm going to stick with. My two side groups are actually, so I've got this methyl group here. There's just one carbon here, so that's a methyl group, and this bromine here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my parent name. So this is pentane, because I don't see any double or triple bonds. And then I have bromo for my bromine, and that's attached to carbon number 2. And then I have methyl, so 3-methyl. Now when I put these all together, I want this to be in alphabetical order. So I'm going to compare my B and my M. B obviously comes first in the alphabet, so I'm going to stick that on the front of the name, on the top of the name, and then the methyl goes after. Okay, so it would be 2-bromo, 3-methyl pentane. So that's how you would name that particular compound.